If you do not understand who our customer is and you don't understand what our product is, you can't help us market it. It's that simple. Like you need to understand what we do inside and out.
This is You Should Talk To, a podcast for busy marketing leaders who are looking for support and tips on getting shit done. In each episode, Daniel Weiner interviews marketing leaders and discusses their experience, successes, and failures around hiring agencies. If you're interested in finding and choosing the right agency partner, then let's jump in.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the You Should Talk To podcast. I am your host, your sponsor, your everything. You Should Talk To pairs brands and marketers for free with vetted agencies and or freelancers for virtually any marketing or tech need, because finding great agencies and freelancers is a pain in the ass. Today, I am super excited to be joined by my neighbor we just found out, Matt Kobach, who is VP of Marketing at Slice. Matt, how are we?
I am doing phenomenal, and it's not 100 degrees here. Since we're neighbors, we know how hot it is. So I was a little
Not
happy
yet.
this morning.
Not yet.
Yeah.
I saw
Yeah.
Saturdays. Oh, the feels like could be 115. So
Oh, fine. Never mind then.
yeah, sorry for
No.
bursting your bubble. Today is not so bad. So yeah. Sweet. Let's dive right in. First of all, tell my audience what exactly is Slice.
Yeah, I love talking to like marketing people about Slice because I've got a really good analogy that resonates with marketing, the marketing industry. So before I joined Slice, I thought it was no different than an Uber Eats, a DoorDash. I thought it was a third-party delivery marketplace. Turns out
I
it's
think
fun.
I thought that the same before researching you as well.
Yeah. Well, we really are. We're HubSpot for independent shops. What we do is we digitize as many of the shop's orders as possible. So this can be from a marketplace app that we have, but it also can be from a website. It also can be from a register if someone walks in. And we're actually also making a phone product. So if someone calls in, we can actually even digitize that order. And what that allows us to do is, one, you now have all this information in one spot that either the shop can leverage. Normally it's Slice leveraging on their behalf. But now you know things like, what are the most popular menu items? When do these menu items sell the most? What are the days where you're doing the least volume and maybe you need to add a promo to get more people in the door? Same with maybe time of year. So there's a lot of information that shops are not leveraging that they could leverage to get some of their customers in the door more often. And then the more interesting part, we actually have that data now. We have that information to remarket to their current customers. So it is a lot harder to get a net new customer to buy from you than it is to get a current customer to order from you, to buy from you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more times a year. And that's what we do. So you've got those third-party apps that are really good at discovery, and you pay 30% for that discovery. That's actually a pretty good deal. You know, it's hard to get a new customer, and paying 30% for that is kind of worth it. The problem is, if this is a loyal customer, somebody who's coming to you 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, now that 30% doesn't make any more sense. And so you want to transition someone who is a current customer into the Slice ecosystem as quickly as possible, because we do not charge nearly as much as that. And we're remarketing to that person to go back to that specific shop. So it's not, hey, Daniel, order from Slice again. It's, hey, Daniel, order from your favorite shop again. And we don't even mention our name. And so it feels like a much more direct relationship with your favorite pizzeria shops.
I love it. And I love HubSpot, so I really appreciate the
Yeah.
analogy. Let's dive right in. What's your unpopular or spicy take you have in the marketing world in general, or a marketing hill you're willing to die on?
Yeah, okay, I got one. So I cut my teeth on social media. So I got into the industry via social media. It was over a decade ago now. But one thing I don't get is organic social media that like serves no purpose other than to be a glorified ad. I think the company is wasting their time. I think if that's the kind of content you're making, you're wasting your time. I just don't think anyone really wants to watch that or does watch it. And I think the social media platforms are incentivized to give you data that misleads you into thinking people are watching, sharing, consuming that in any meaningful way. Now, I do think there is absolutely a spot for organic social media. And I think there's a spot for that type of content to be paid content. But I think a lot of people are, they're lying to themselves to some degree if they think people want to watch glorified ads. And so whether that means you don't focus your energy there or it means like you've got to refigure your strategy, I just think a lot of companies are doing it incorrectly.
I feel personally victimized a little bit. I feel like I'm reformed. I've posted every day, virtually every day for like 3 years on LinkedIn,
Mhm.
which has been a great brand building exercise for me, more as like founder led. But yeah, I finally,
Yeah.
I don't know, 6 months or a year ago, deleted my Instagram account because I was like, nobody gives a shit about what I post on Instagram about my company and these stupid things. And I was doing it just for the sake of doing it. And I felt a weight lifted once I stopped doing that.
Yeah, and it also I will say from a personal brand versus like an actual
Sure.
brand, it's easier to argue from a personal brand, but it's really hard to create that compelling of content on a regular basis. I do like the forcing yourself to post daily because it just forces yourself to work. It just forces you like you're going to post a lot of crap, but there will be some good stuff in there, and then you end up kind of realizing what the good stuff is, and then you're able to make the good stuff even better. So I get it from there, but like if you're a auto loan company, like, do you really need that much organic content? Like, you need customers, you need to get them to your website, and I just don't know that, like, people are sharing that kinda
You're
content.
the only type of company that I can make a case for. Everybody loves pizza. Nobody's gonna say no to
Agreed,
that.
agreed. I
But
and it's funny, so I say this, and I'm literally hiring a pizza influencer to make organic pizza content because I think this is the right industry to leverage something like that. But what I have told every person who's applied for this role, I do not care about anyone downloading our app or ordering through our app because of the content that you're creating. I literally only care about impressions. So make content that people are going to DM their friends so that we can get more awareness for our brand. That is all I care about.
it sounds like a dream job. Are you still you're
Yeah.
actively hiring for that right
Well,
now?
still hiring. If you, I don't know when this goes live, but if you are listening, odds are I have not made the hire yet. And I can tell you exactly what I'm looking for. If you are the type of person who wants to be like a director of marketing, this is not the role for you. If you are the type of person who wants to host The Price is Right someday, this is the role for you. If you want to be the next Mr. Beast, this is the role for you. And we are looking at this as like a springboard for that. Like, come onto our platform, make amazing content, build your own personal brand, and then hopefully one day you get a call from CBS to host The Price is Right, or SNL calls you, or your YouTube videos are blowing up, and you leave, and it will be no hard feelings, and I will send you tons of pizza as a parting gift.
I love it. Your current role is as VP of marketing, and I'd argue, as I just mentioned, get to work on maybe the coolest thing that you can market. I was going to say puppies would be number one. You mentioned you come from social. Looks like you come from finance a little bit as well. New York Stock Exchange, Intercontinental Exchange. Can you talk a little bit about your career journey? But also, I'm particularly interested since you've been on the marketing side, what's the biggest shift you've seen in consumer behavior between different industries, especially? I assume people buy pizza a little differently than they invest their money.
That is true. So I'll go through kind of like how I ended up here being a pizza boy because it is not a what's funny is like no one really ends up having a linear career. I think they do, and then you take all these weird turns, and only you look back and you realize like, oh, careers aren't linear whatsoever.
I run a company with a punny name for 3 years now, so
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So I first got into marketing. I actually wasn't even in marketing. I thought I was going to be an academic. I thought I was going to be a professor. So I was getting a PhD, and the way PhDs work is you essentially pick a topic and then become an expert in that topic, and then you're known as the expert in that topic. So you write a bunch of papers, and it's hopefully people pay you to be the expert in that topic. And I was doing this right when social media was really exploding, and so I thought I was going to be the social media person. So I did a lot of research, a lot of studies on it and stuff, and PhDs move kind of slow. If you can't tell, I talk fast, and I just moved a little slow for the way that I was like interested in my career at that time. So I ended up leaving. But during that time, I learned a lot about like how social media worked, and I noticed a lot of how it worked on the business side. So I was like, well, I can do this. So I started a social media marketing agency. And what I ended up doing was working with like local, commodities might be the right kind of way to do it. It was like dentists and like chiropractors
Sure.
and urologists and stuff. It was, industries that didn't really have brands that they had to worry about. They just needed customers. They just needed awareness. And so what I could do is I could make some ads for a pediatrician dentist, and then I could take it to the next city over and sell the same ads to them and just buy the ads. And this is like in the heyday of Facebook marketing. So like any idiot could buy ads, and I happened to be any idiot. So I did that for a few years, and I really liked the creative part of it. And I really hated the chasing down customers and relying on other people and doing taxes and stuff. And so I was like, where can I go do this full time? And that's how I ended up in Atlanta. So I ended up at Intercontinental Exchange, which shout out to this Atlanta company that no one knows, that essentially controls the price of gas and coffee and cotton. Is just this wild company that no one's ever heard of. They own the New York Stock Exchange, and that's how I ended up there. And I always took this mentality of like, if I'm going to do organic social, it better be really, really good. So I had to figure out how to make interesting organic energy exchange content and entertaining financial content. And it turns out it's actually pretty easy. Like, people are interested in this stuff. Part of my job at the New York Stock Exchange was to pitch private companies who were going to go public to do it on our exchange. So, you got like Airbnb, Uber, all those companies, like they want to go public and they pick either the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ. And part of my job was to say, hey, if you come on the New York Stock Exchange, we're going to create all this content for you. We're going to get millions of impressions. All eyes are going to be on you. This is your big coming out party. Everyone's going to love you if you do it on our side. And I decided I wanted to be on the other side of that table. I knew I wasn't going to start a company, but I wanted to join companies that had startup or had IPO ambitions. So I joined a startup called Fast. If you paid attention to that space, they, crashed and burned pretty famously, but it was a fun ride. It was really interesting. I joined another startup named Northbeam, and then the Slice opportunity kind of fell in my lap. I'd been friendly with the founder for a little bit, and he told me about what the company actually was and how they were doing and, their business ambitions. And it was a really easy yes for me. So, and I didn't answer your other question at all. I just
No,
gave
it's
this
fine.
roundabout way how I got here. The biggest change is buying ads is a lot harder. You have to be a lot savvier of a marketer. You have to have a lot more creative. Like, I was literally making like 4 ads and selling the same 4 ads across like different cities or different zip codes. And now it's like you need 4 ads to launch a campaign or 4 different pieces of creative to launch a campaign. So it's just people are, I don't know if savvier is the word, but they're consuming social media content or digital content a little differently. And so you just have to test a lot more things. You've got to, you've just got to spend a lot more on the creative assets that are going to get someone's attention. And then I remember too, like, I never even had to think about redirecting to a landing page. It was like you just went there and someone just gave you your information. And now you need to think about landing page conversions and optimizing this. And it was just so much easier back then. And now there's so much more nuance that did not exist, whatever it was 15 years ago.
No, I agree. I actually, my claim to social media fame, or how I started in social media as well, was working for Facebook in 2010 on the self-serve ad platform. And I remember they sent me free ad credits to advertise for a local business in Sarasota, Florida, of all places. And I was like, wow, this is easy. Like, cause it was easy, kind of. You push a couple buttons and like, holy shit, people were seeing this stuff. So
yeah,
I'm particularly interested. Economy's in a weird place. It sounds like you've mentioned 2 things. You just mentioned kind of like the performance side, but you also are, I would say, you have the luxury of having a cool brand and pizza focus and stuff. And you just mentioned this, I say, dream job for somebody where the metrics is impressions, which marketers listening probably gasp and say, no, we need to tie everything back to, straight ROI and stuff like that. With the economy where it's at, if you're speaking to other CMOs, VPs of marketing, marketing leaders in general, what's your advice to them on kind of that dichotomy of performance versus creativity?
Yeah. So I don't know that I agree with the premise of the question. So the economy where it's at.
You're not
It's
allowed to disagree. This is my pot. You're not allowed to disagree.
So I agree that people.
No, this is good. I like people disagreeing.
Yeah, well, it's not even that I disagree. It's funny. It's like people have said that there's going to be a recession. People have said the economy's not doing well. I just don't know that I believe it. It's like everyone is saying it. It's like
I said in flux. I feel like that's a more egregious maybe misrepresentation also.
Well, but what's funny though is that, like, I think for all intents and purposes though, you're still right. Because what happens is, if like everyone's uneasy about the economy, now they've pulled back the spending, they're not going to do the experimental marketing, and they're just being a lot more conservative than they otherwise would be. So to me, that's the interesting part. Because like I look at like consumer spending, I can see our own financials. I can see the financials of the other companies that I've worked at. Like I said, I come from finance, so I can, I like those kind of things. So I look at those reports. And certainly there is data that suggests that, the economy in certain sectors is not doing well. But then we've also like record air travel. So like people are taking vacations, people are spending money. So to me, what this says is like, we actually have less to worry about in that regard than I think is actually true. And so what I'm currently doing, and maybe I'm giving away my secret, I'm going harder right now. I'm fighting for more budget with this premise. I'm like, look, everyone's talking about how horrible it is. Everyone's talking about how they need to like batten down the hatches and save for like, this is a lost year in terms of growth. It's like, that's the time to be aggressive because now ads are going to be cheaper. The normal kind of everyday boring foundational stuff that you do is actually going to be more impactful because less people are doing it. And you don't have to get as creative. So like, this is the time I think to actually double down. Like, don't risk your company on it. But if you're asking your board or your CFO or whatever it is, whoever holds the purse strings, this is the time to ask them for more money with obviously a solid plan for growth. It's not just like burn money for the sake of burning it. But my advice to CMOs is like, if you have a way that you think you can grow your customer base or that you can grow your sales, this is a wonderful time to do it because you've got a lot of people who are really scared to spend money right now.
I hear some of that. I hear a lot from other folks that they're asking for budget and they're getting budget, but it's not as easy to get it for the experimental stuff like you talked about. And everybody wants to see the surefire plan of if we spend this, what are we going to get in return? What do you think of that? Any advice for getting the experimental budgets in these times?
Yeah, it's tough. I will say, so the pizza influencer role, I expect to like tie exactly 0 ROI to that role. Like I can't, I'm not gonna like, I don't care to do the attribution to like figure out, all right, it's some like MMM kind of stuff. And like that we saw this jump with this. And I've made that clear. It's like, it's just going to be a waste of our time. Like you either, you just basically have to accept this on blind faith and
Sure.
that like you hired me to make this decision. But what you can do is you can kind of look at some data points and like make some fair assumptions. And to me, this pizza influencer role, we named it, this is a content creator. We called it pizza influencer because I thought it could get some traditional media pickup. And lo and behold, it got tons. And we got millions of impressions on this role and on Slice. And again, we're kind of going through, we're not going through a rebrand, but we're going through like a repositioning so that people understand what we do. So I was able to talk to all these media outlets and say, and they're like, oh, Slice, the third party delivery app. And I would say, no, 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 the online ordering platform. So it's like a subtle kind of difference, but we're able to like get that now in the story so people kind of can better understand what we do. That would, to get that would have cost me more than this person's salary. So it's like when they go, hey, is this a success? It's like, well, I haven't even hired the person yet. And it sure seems like it is a success. So it's really bringing someone along. It's like, yes, this is art and science, and I'm not going to stop doing the direct response stuff. I'm also currently hiring someone who their job is order growth. And so like that person will have KPIs that I need to
Sure.
measure. But what I want I report to the CEO, what I want the CEO and the CFO to be looking at is like, how is marketing doing as a whole? Are orders up that we can attribute to them? Because I think what the experimental stuff or the hard to measure stuff, I think it impacts the easier to measure stuff. And so, yes, I can't say this is exactly up because of that, but I think that's a short-sighted way to look at marketing.
No, I love it. Having run one yourself, what's your overall opinion of agencies and how do they fit into the ecosystem there at Slice?
Yeah. So right now they're not a part of our ecosystem, but it's less strategic. It's not like I'm for or against it in this context. It's that like I needed some time to kind of understand where I needed to go and where the company needed to go from a marketing standpoint. And I can tell you where I don't like agencies or where I don't need agencies. I don't need an agency to tell me that. Like I wholly believe it is my job to do that. Because if I don't have a strong grasp of who we are, who our customers are, who like the best shops that should be on, the best people who should be ordering, then I shouldn't be in this role. And so I need to sit and figure that out for a little bit. And I need to figure out the direction that we're headed. And I need to come up with a game plan. Then I want to work with an agency to supplement anything that we can't currently do in-house. So a good example is we need to create a series of videos. We could create some of them. I don't know that I want to create all of them. So like I will be going to an agency that can whip out a bunch of like B2B SaaS videos essentially because we're a dual-sided marketplace. I need to get shops using
Yeah.
our product and that's where I'm starting. And I don't know the best way to make that video. I don't know what Sal from Sal's Pizzeria wants to watch. I don't know if he's willing to watch a 2-minute video or if he wants to watch a 10-second video. And so I need to try a lot of things. And so I need someone that can move fast, produce videos and, kind of take this idea that's in my head and bring it to life in a more interesting way. And I think agencies provide interesting perspectives of like how to bring something to life, but like it needs to be internally owned. of like what the big vision is. And it's like, I need them to maybe come up with the language, but the idea needs to come from me.
No, I like it. Most marketers I talk to with your title are getting hit up every 12 seconds by
Yeah.
agencies on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
Twitter. Maybe you saying that you don't currently work with agencies will give you a break, but I highly doubt it.
Or
Is
more.
that
Yeah.
I was going to say, is that the
No.
case for you?
Blood in the water. Yeah, certainly. Also, too, because where I used to work, I was a company called Northbeam. They do media buying analytics, and a lot of agencies are media buyers, a lot of performance agencies. So I worked very closely with them. So it's like they know who I am. And so I got hit up when I announced I was going to Slice. Oh, let us do your ad buying. Let us help with your creative. Let us know what you need. So certainly there, I would say 2 or 3 times a week on LinkedIn, 2 or 3 times a week on Twitter. And to be honest, I ignore most of them, not because there's anything wrong with the pitch that they're giving me. It is 100% based on timing. If I don't need what you offer right now, I've got 7 other things I've got to focus on. So like, it's just not even, it just can't even like stick in my head. Now, if in 2 weeks, I'm ready to make those videos and someone pings me on, Twitter and they give me an example, hey, here's a video I did for Slack that I think you'd really like, that I think could actually work for the B2B side of Slice. It's like, that is the right timing. And I don't know how an agency does that other than just luck, like I don't.
They're going to listen to this. I can almost guarantee you,
Yeah.
even mine, I can guarantee you my B2B focused video agency partners will send a message with,
Please, honestly, let's do it. I need it. Like that is it. Like, is something like I need. And all I want is examples. Like, that's literally all I want. Like, I don't give me the name, like, show me what you can do. And let me see if that makes sense for what I've got envisioned in my head. And if it does, I got some money to spend.
I'll send you some portfolios after this if you
Sure.
promise to send me the screenshots of random agencies with my name in the subject line in your LinkedIn, which I usually get of her. So the funny part I find about all this outreach, I totally agree. Everybody I ask that question to, for the most part, some are into like experimenting and like taking random calls, but they'll usually task somebody else on their team with that. But everybody says timing. I
Yeah.
find with this, so this is a perfect example where a video agency could say, hey, like we heard you on the podcast. I find everybody stops there. They don't then give the personalization. They're like, we heard you on the podcast. Let's chat.
Yes.
That's not the thing. It's, hey,
Personalize
we
it.
heard you wanted examples of website or videos of companies like Slack and B2B and stuff. It's such an opportunity that most people
Yep.
miss.
If you're going to reach out, if you're listening to this and going to reach out, personalize it. No, I need to get shops to understand what Slice does. And it's a B2B SaaS kind of thing, but I'm not selling to like your normal B2B person. You're selling to someone who spends 16 hours a day on their feet, cooking, hosting, talking to people, running a restaurant. That's a very different person to sell to than most B2B companies. So keep that in mind when you're pitching. That's it.
It's totally fair. In your past life of working with
Mhm.
agencies, when you were evaluating vendors, partners, whatever, what are you looking for? How can a vendor stand out outside of what we just talked about?
It's funny. Because we talked about this a little bit before we recorded. One of my favorite relationships with an agency was one that felt like an extension of our own team. It didn't feel like I was giving them orders and they were coming back. They were sitting and this is pre-pandemic. They were coming to our office once or twice a week. Even if we weren't having meeting, they were literally just there so that if we had an idea, we had a thought, or that they could kind of absorb that information that just kind of gets shouted out in work in an office work environment. And that was really helpful. This is now all of a sudden, and this is back when I was at the New York Stock Exchange, because we'd have to do campaigns for other companies that were going public, and we had an agency that helped us do that. And it's more nuanced than it thinks. You have to there's certain beats you have to hit, there's certain information you got to get. And so having someone who is so ingrained with our day to day and with like our current like marketing structure was unbelievably helpful. And we legitimately considered them part of the team. Like if we would go out for drinks, we're going out for dinner after, like they were invited. And so like getting into as many of like these meetings or day to day kind of stuff that felt kind of like, why am I here? Actually ended up being really, really beneficial. And we were there for like 6 months, or I was there for, 4 years. And I think they were the agency of record for the whole time I was there. And I don't think, I don't know what's happened since, but just having that powerful relationship was, made it last.
That's amazing. On the flip side, can you think of a negative agency experience you've had and what made it so negative?
Yeah. No, no, for sure. It's the ones who don't understand what we do. It's if you do not understand who our customer is and you don't understand what our product is, you can't help us market it. It's that simple. Like you need to understand what we do inside and out. And that's why like I'm hesitant to like work with anyone right now because I'm literally just learning
That's what
about
I
our
that's
customers.
what I was gonna ask, though. You took the words out of my mouth. Is that I'm curious. I hear that feedback a lot. Do you expect an agency to, if you were hiring for, I don't know, just call it marketing strategy right now, do you expect an agency to fully understand, or do you expect them to have the chops to fully understand after working with you for a little bit? And I usually get split answers if I want people to understand us or no. Like, I don't expect somebody to totally understand us at the beginning. And some people are turned off to it when agencies come to the table right away and they're like, because they're implying they know you better at something that you're in every second of the day. I'm curious.
It's true. I think it would likely be how you end up approaching that conversation. If you come in with an attitude, I know more about your business than you do, that's a tough, intro. That's a tough first step. But if you go in, hey, I'm familiar with the space. Here's the research I've done on your customers. Here's the research I've done with about you. I'd love to know what I got right. I'd love to know what I got wrong. But the people who do their homework always stand out to me because everything else feels like a generic spam pitch. So all you've done is copy and paste it and it's a numbers game to you. But the person who's like, "Oh, I downloaded the app. I used it. Like, actually, this part was kinda clunky. What happened here? Like, I don't get why I would ever use it here. There's not enough shops on. What it like" to someone that, like, kinda shows that they're thinking strategically about it always stands out to me versus someone who just seems like they want more business and they don't care where they get it from.
It's so funny. The bar I find is so low, and that's such good advice to download the actual app if you're talking to an app. That some people, I get feedback even about my agencies are not perfect angels, but I hear all the time of largely other agencies. Yeah, we talked to them and they had no knowledge of our product or like our app. I'm like, tell me they downloaded the app. They're like, nah, they said on the call they hadn't. I'm like, oh my God, like lie, I'm never a proponent of lying. I'm like, just say you downloaded the app, like takes 2 seconds. That is just wild. I've seen a bigger shift, especially since COVID, which I think kind of goes in line with that. Like most of the agencies I work with are call it 15 to 200 headcount, independently owned and operated. And even though it's cliche, I'd say hungrier than most. I've seen bigger named brands moving towards smaller independent agencies specialized in usually 1 to 2 services, something like that. What do you think of that trend?
Yeah, it's something I totally do too. And it's funny that you mentioned that because that's been my experience over the past, call it 3 or 4 years. I don't know if it's related to COVID and the pandemic and stuff and like shutdown, but like that it seemed to happen kind of right around then. And so maybe it's a coincidence, but absolutely. Because again, I don't want a full marketing plan. I don't need the full service thing. What I need is I've got a vision and I go, okay, I've got like a checklist of 7 things I need to get done. And I know the order I want to get them done. So I need someone to help me knock this first one off the list. And if an agency can help me do 3, 4 more of them, great. But I literally only want to do this one. I absolutely work in a way that's like, I do not want to do 7 things at once. I've told my team when I joined, you all are doing too much. You all are focused on too many things. And we're doing a bunch of things very averagely. I want to do 3 things phenomenally. And if you tell me you're working on a 4th thing or a 5th thing, you better make sure that you have done those first 3 things perfectly. And like, I think that kind of relates to then the attitude towards an agency. Like, I don't need to pay for all the other stuff. I don't need, whatever, call it like SEM right now from an agency. I literally need help with our value prop and messaging. So if you're not going to help me with that, then it's too soon for the other stuff.
I find folks in your role making the wrong agency decision is a quick way to potentially get fired, but also just to lose credibility, within the organization and stuff like that. For new CMOs, new VPs of marketing, what's your advice to get the most out of their agencies, whether they acquired them from their predecessor or if they've just hired new agencies? How do you get the most out of that relationship?
Yeah, I think you've got to make it feel like a symbiotic relationship. And so I'm always of the mindset of like sharing more information as opposed to less. I think like I, so from like an agency side, you can fail at the relationship through no fault of your own. If your counterpart on the brand side isn't giving you the information you need, isn't giving you the feedback you need, like you're probably not going to succeed. And
Garbage
so
in, garbage out.
yeah, absolutely. And so, like, the first thing I would do is, like, one, I'd want like, let's say I inherited let me make sure that they have the skill set to do what I need done. Like, let me make sure this aligns with my vision and then bring them along in the vision. Explain to like, here's why I'm making these decisions. Here's the like insights I have that are leading me to want to go this direction or to do this initiative. I think understanding the why is really important for creating really, really good content or really, really good whatever it is, fill in the blank. Because if you don't know the why, like you're kind of just like it becomes like a color by numbers a little bit. And you can pick the wrong color. You don't know why you're picking blue. And so you pick the wrong shade of blue. But when you know, oh, I'm, coloring in this one specific flower, I know that exact shade. I can make this really, really accurate, really, really good. Now you've got a much stronger relationship. And so I like to think of it so much more as a partnership. If you've got a relationship where it's, hey, I need this done and it's a task and you're just like using them as a, basically an admin kind of level, like I don't think it's ever going to be fruitful or, at the very least, know that going into it and know that it's a very superficial relationship that, is very transactional.
Yeah, I see both ends of the spectrum. Brands using agencies as true thought partners who are involved every step
Mhm.
of the way, and some more as like execution partners. And yeah, it seems like simple advice, but it's true. Like I could, draw parallels to so many different situations, or the feedback I get from brands when they're leaving agencies. Like, yeah, they just don't seem like they give a shit about their business. It's the most common that I get.
Yeah.
Uh,
I want someone obsessed with slice. When I talk, like I hope my passion comes through on
it
this
does.
podcast. When I'm talking internally to people, and I'm talking externally to people, like I get really excited about what this platform can do because it literally helps local independent mom and pop shops like succeed or fail. And so I want someone who's like as bought in to the possibilities of this. Like I don't think you have to be like bought into the mission or all this, but you have to be bought into the fact that like this legitimately helps people or helps shops. And so if they don't have that kind of like same level of passion, and that's where the disconnect's going to kind of be. And so they got to drink the Kool-Aid a little bit.
That kind of goes in line with bigger companies moving towards independent agencies. That's a common
Mhm.
thing I get. Bigger companies who have worked with bigger agencies, they're usually at the bottom end of that agency's budget threshold, So if you
Mhm.
spend, I don't know, 50 grand a month, the big agency, that's tiny, small fries to them. Whereas an independent agency for 50 grand a month, you get an astronomical amount of work and also genuine, I'm not naive to the fact that money can create some passion out of an agency
Mhm.
because it affords them the ability to grow and do stuff like that. But yeah, to your point, like agencies would be wise to take that advice of showing up passionate about their clients and their brands and wanting them to win. And it's such a low barrier of effort to literally download the app. Say, hey,
Yeah.
we poked around. We saw some,
Mhm.
I'm also a big proponent of not making too many assumptions of, hey, we downloaded the app and we have 20 things we'd like to tell you on a first call because
Yeah.
who the hell knows what's going on in the business. But yeah, there's so many just low hanging fruit for agencies to appear passionate and show up on these calls.
I'll tell you my favorite pitch I've gotten so far has been from someone who goes, "Hey, I downloaded the app and I went to my local pizza place and I noticed they weren't on there. So I went and talked to him about it and asked him why." I was like, "Oh, that's good." Like that was and they got a free pizza, not a free, they had to pay for pizza, but they got a pizza out of it. Like
Well,
that was like
what was
cool.
the answer? Why was the pizzeria not on it?
You know what I mean? I think they maybe never heard of it. I honestly don't even remember. But it was funny. It's like the answer to me didn't matter. The fact that like you're essentially doing market research before, like that was the like kind of above and beyond that I'm looking for in a way to stand out. And what's funny too is like this is the type of thing that like it works the same as like a job opening. We'll go back to the pizza influencer. The best applications are the ones who made they had to do a video application to
Sure.
apply. The ones that did the best, the ones who went over the top, they went to the local pizza place and they did an interview or they did some cool, unique thing. And it's like, that's the way to stand out in life. And so, like, I don't know why you wouldn't do it as an agency that like wants to, get a really attractive client. And I'm biased. I think Slice is a really attractive client. If you're in the Northeast, everyone knows Slice. And if you're not, my job is to bring it, like, we don't have the same penetration in other areas. My job is to bring that penetration. And I solely 100% believe that we will be as well known as an Uber Eats or a DoorDash. And so like this is a chance to like work with like a company with really strong growth that has product market fit that's we're literally just bringing it to other cities now.
Yeah, I think to play devil's advocate, to advocate for the agency side of
Mhm.
that, I feel for them because I talk to, an incredible amount of CMOs and VPs, and it's usually split half on your side. Yeah, I want an agency to go above and beyond and like, show that they want it. And plenty of others who don't want agencies to make assumptions and want, again, I don't fault them, a more straightforward, boring process, which is why sometimes when people ask for, usually specifically to like creative, when people ask me for creative agencies, we talk through it. A lot of the times I ask the question, are you looking to like win an award, or are you looking to just like execute on some stuff? More times than not, it's like, oh, like probably just execute on some stuff. But like it sounds a little more boring. I'm like, it's okay to be boring on some stuff. Like if that's the truth, those are the, and there are different kinds of agencies and stuff like that. So I feel for that's why my overall coaching to every agency out there is know your audience more than anything.
True.
Matt
fair.
Kobach wants people to go above and beyond, show up in a friggin' pizza suit for all I'm being serious though. Like, shoot the shot.
Mm-hmm.
What's something you think most agencies get wrong, or something you wish they quote unquote got more?
You know what? I think you just said it. I think it's this really like know your audience, because what resonates with you, if someone's pitching you, is going to be different than what resonates with me. And again, it might take a little research, and you might have to honestly like kind of pivot your approach like in real time. And it might be the difference between like what the follow-up is like versus not, because you don't necessarily know until you kind of can like meet and talk to someone. But that like this idea that there is no like one set approach that's going to like work really well. You can even tell like there's this quote I like from Rory Sutherland. That's like the opposite of a good idea is also often a good idea. Like you kind of think like, oh, this one really good thing works. So this idea that like you need to be super personalized and custom with me, where the other person's like, I just want like the information, give it to me as quickly as possible, and I'll make the decision that way. But both of those can be great tactics. It just depends who the audience is.
Totally agree. What are you most excited about in the marketing space?
So I am so excited about this pizza influencer. This is one thing in social media I have never understood. I don't get why companies aren't trying to make more influencers, like company influencers. The only like response I ever get is like, well, what if they leave? And I think that's such a good problem to have. Like, what if we make this person the face and they leave, and then we're stuck with nothing? And it's like, if they leave, it's because they were so successful and they made a name for themselves that like, and I'll gladly go through the process of hiring again, because if they're successful, it means our brand was successful. So this is literally what I did at the New York Stock Exchange. So I was working from there. I was working for the like parent company for 2 years in Atlanta. And it became clear it was like the biggest opportunities for the New York Stock Exchange. And so I transferred to New York. And there's all these cool celebrities and CEOs and world leaders that were coming in there every day. It's like, this is such an opportunity. And so I remember I pitched my boss. I was like, hey, I just need to like film all this stuff all the time. Whenever someone's cool, we got to film it. We got to figure out how to like edit it and then put it up. She's like, yeah, of course. And then I said, I also think we need like a host. We need someone to like kind of walk people through this. Like some of these are like really complex financial information. Like it just can't be done with like someone pointing a camera and, collecting data or collecting video that way. And I was like, can we hire a host or something? And she's like, no, there's no way you can hire a host. No. I was like, well, then like, can I be the host? And she's like, yeah, sure. Of course. And so it led to me. It was funny. Like I remember when we started, Snapchat was really big and Snapchat was private, and we really wanted Snapchat to list on the New York Stock Exchange. So we went all in on Snapchat, and it was so successful. I would be on the subway in New York and people would recognize me and go, that's the NYSC Snapchat guy. And I don't get why other companies aren't doing this. Like make one or two people the face of your brand, especially if you have a brand or an industry that lends itself to organic content. And that's 100% what I'm doing with this pizza influencer. I want to get an army of freelance pizza influencers across different cities. I want this person based in New York. Don't have to be, but ideally. And then I want someone to do it in Atlanta. And I want someone to do it in Denver and Phoenix and San Francisco, because there's all these really cool, people and shop owners and different foods and stuff to highlight. So that's what I don't get. I think like organic content could be really interesting and really good. You've just got to like hand over the keys to let someone else be the face of the company on social media.
That's why I was going to say, I think I know why everybody hasn't bought in fully yet, because they want to see you fail first or be successful first before they say, so that they can, if it ends up not working out for them, they weren't the first ones to do it. People are scared. It's non-traditional, I would say. I'm starting to see a lot more brands try to figure it out. I
Mhm.
think that is a common one. Who's going to be our hero? Who's going to be in all of these videos and stuff like that? And also one which I go back and forth on is, to your point, not everybody has necessarily a budget for multiples. So they want a little
Mhm.
bit more diversification of audience and would rather give, a little bit of money to more micro influencers than making like a full-time hire. But
Yeah.
I think it's brilliant. I've grown my entire business from organic social media content for the
Yeah.
most part, among other things. But
You know,
yeah,
it's funny. You know,
it's
the other reason when I was at the New York Stock Exchange that it was always I was internally, it was not a smashing success. There was like some, I don't get why he's doing it. Why does he always have to be on? What is he after? What's his goal? And I was like, I don't have some ulterior motive. My goal is to make content that people want to watch and
yeah.
share. And the questions I got is like, we keep getting all these media requests for Matt. How come they're not asking for a president? It's like, shouldn't he be making content that that highlights our president? I was like, our president doesn't want to do this.
I was gonna say,
Like,
tell the president to come join. He'd probably love to
yeah,
have him.
yeah. Like I'd gladly do this, but I'm working with the materials I've got, and it's like, well, figure out how to get them more camera time. I was like, I'm getting as much as I can. Like I don't know what else to do. And so it's funny. So like even internally, like you could have someone who's kind of a squeaky wheel internally that's kind of threatened by that person being so prominently the face when they think it should be a different C-suite.
I completely agree. I think most companies who aren't figuring out a way to enable their employees, even on a small scale, to post on social media, and some are
Yep.
incentivizing them to do so, are missing a huge opportunity as well, especially on the B2B side. The LinkedIn crowd, it's wild. Like, when I see company logos, I think of the person I think of their names. Lavender's a really good example. I don't know if you follow them. They're in Atlanta on LinkedIn. Will Allred, I could name their entire staff from what they post on social media.
It's so funny. I don't get it either. I don't get why you don't empower every employee who wants to create content on behalf of the company. The logic being is we don't trust them. They're going to post something where they're going to post something off brand. It's like, why did you hire them if you don't trust them? Like they're not going to they might post something that's like a little on the line or not quite right. Like I've got an example. I don't know if this guy's listening or not, but we got someone who creates pizza content that is in sales at Slice. And the content that he creates is great for the most of the time. And he does like pizza ratings. And we had to say like, hey, I love everything. I can't have you rate in the pizza shops because I don't want one shop asking me why they got a 9 and the other one got a 7. So like
Sure,
keep doing what you're doing, but just like change this one thing.
sure.
And like it wasn't some awkward conversation. It was like, cool, like this is a net positive for us. Like let's just like take it as we get it and adjust as we need.
Maybe that's the answer to my final marketing question for you. I was going to ask
Mhm.
what keeps you up at night from a marketing or business standpoint.
Oh no, sales. It's sales. I want like what I want to do is I've got this plan. If that number is not going up and to the right, that's all I care about. So whether or not I can track all this is, secondary, but I need to see more shops onboarded than, the previous year when I was here or like whatever the comparison is. I need to see more orders per shop. I need to see more orders per person. I need to see more app downloads. That's the stuff that I care about. And I think a lot of marketers likely do themselves a disservice by not agreeing that those are the objectives. Like I tell my pizza influencer, your job is impressions. I am not going to report impressions to my CEO. Like if he cares, I'll tell him,
Sure.
of course. But I want to say, look at how many new shops we got. Look how many orders are up 20% on average. Like that's the stuff that I care about. And, it's a combination of sales and customer success and marketing and go to market that are doing it. But like those are what I'm aiming for. And if I'm doing stuff after 6 months that has not impacted that, then I've got to go back to the drawing board because something's not clicking.
No, totally fair. Is that usually, well, I won't hold you to this answer, is 6 months generally like your testing threshold? I'm sure it depends. I'm just curious. I get
Yeah.
so many people ask me like, oh yeah, we want to test this for 90 days. I'm like, I don't know that
Mhm.
you can test that for 90 days. Like,
Yeah, that's fair. I'll be honest, 6 months was somewhat of an arbitrary number. The only reason I said 6 months is it's funny, I literally before this podcast, I was on a call with my team giving them like, I've got a 24-month plan. And one part of the plan is the B2B part that needs to be up in 6 months. And so like, that's kind of the 6-month timeline I've given
sure.
myself. And it again, it's somewhat arbitrary, but it's like, how much time do I need to realistically do this and do it really well before I can move on to the next thing? And so there's some things that you can test that are short, that are like a little more direct response. And then there's some things that are more likely like kind of brand focused, for lack of a better term, that's going to have a longer leg and it's going to be harder to measure in a short period of time.
Nice. We'll wrap up with a couple fun ones. What was your very first job?
Very, like not professional, like even as a kid,
Absolutely.
as a golf caddy.
Golf caddy. Does it
Yeah.
equate to anything you're doing today? Customer service? I don't know.
No,
Making choices on the fly.
it told me I didn't want to be a golf caddy. I hated it. Yeah.
Where you are?
I had a similar one. I also mowed lawns. My dad owned a lawn mowing company, and so I mowed lawns. And I will say the one thing that I did take from there, it sounds silly. I'd mow a lawn, and he taught me to like take pride in how good the lawn looked. And so like if we were driving away from a lawn and we missed a spot, he'd literally get out, take out the weed whacker, and like get that spot that he missed. And there was a certain satisfaction of like leaving a lawn just perfect, just spotless. And it wasn't about the lawn. It was like, I did as good as I could do. And that looks freaking awesome. And so like, that's something that it's really nice to carry through your career, is to say, I know I made that video or I did that campaign to the best of my ability. And that looks really, really good.
Yeah. And taking pride in whatever you do. I'm curious if you'll answer this next question, but I'll answer it anyways. If you had to have one slice for the rest of your life, what is it?
Like what style?
Style? I was going to ask for the actual pizzeria, but I don't know if you're.
No. Of course. Oh, I've got favorites. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No. So I grew up in Milwaukee, and my goal at Slice is to get Milwaukee style pizza in the same conversation. There's three main styles. There's New York style. We all know that.
Chicago and Detroit.
Chicago and Detroit. Milwaukee is the fourth style.
Super thin.
Super thin.
Yeah,
It's like crispy cracker. It's an oval and it's cut into squares.
Okay.
So you know the style, like some people call it St. Louis style. Some people call it tavern style.
That's what I know it as from Emo's Pizza, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm trying to get it to Milwaukee style. That's the pizza I grew up on. So that is the style of pizza that's my favorite. And part of the reason that pizza is so powerful is like we all have that nostalgic place that we went to. Like, so it's called Balistraries. It's where I went to with my family. It's where whenever I'm back in Milwaukee, I go to that spot. I make sure to make a point of it. And like, it doesn't matter if it's like, it's funny. I take people there, they're like, it's fine. And they don't have all the nostalgia of that, like built in like I do. And so like, there's something special about eating your hometown pizza that like makes it be its favorite. As far as Atlanta, we're both Atlanta. I love Glide Pizza.
That's my favorite. I was hoping you said that. I think they are. I don't know what they're doing. There's something in that dough. I have never had I'm from New York originally, and I think they rival some of the best pizza I've had in New York City as well.
It's
and they're in my building, so it's even more dangerous.
Yeah. Love them. Big fan of them.
Anything else in Atlanta?
Fellini's is what I go to. That's about it. Yeah. Awesome. I need to get Fellini's on Slice. They're the perfect Slice candidate. So if anyone from Fellini's is listening to this, I will pay you a couple $1,000s to join Slice. I don't know that I have this authority, but I figure I could make an exception to get the most popular pizza joint in Atlanta on Slice. So let's figure it out. If you know someone from Fellini's, contact me. If you are Fellini's, contact me.
Is Glide on Slice?
What's that?
Glide is on Slice?
Glide isn't on Slice. Glide's an interesting one because we really do well for like, there would actually be a good like prospect shop or a good shop that would like fit us. We're really good for people who like call ahead and take out. And Glide ends up being a lot more kind of sit down. You go in there, it's like a Slice shop, you go in there, order. But yeah, if you're from Glide, I'll also make the same deal as Fellini's. I love you. Get on Slice. Order from Slice.
Unless they lied to me, I had the very first Slice at Glide.
Oh, did you?
At their new location. I showed up early to their opening. And he was like, you want to try to make sure the oven works? I was like, I will take your trial slice of pizza. So
do you get the ranch from them?
It's the most sexual ranch I've ever had.
I don't get
my entire. What?
I don't. No. Sorry, I don't get why it's so good. I don't get like. No. It's phenomenal. Sorry, I meant like I don't.
I was about to say.
Get how they have made the world's best ranch. Like it is something special. If you are in Atlanta, go to Glide. If you get a pizza, they give you a free side of ranch. If you get the whole pizza, if you get just a slice, you have to order it. Make sure to order the ranch. We literally get extra, and then we use it throughout the week at my house
for salads and stuff.
Yeah, It's that good. It is the best ranch I've ever had.
It's so weird. Yeah, I love it as well. This is just a Glide fan account now, so
we'll get Glide to sponsor the podcast. I'll do a Glide pizza party. Again, I'll pay for a pizza party. Glide, you do on. I'll buy everyone that comes in that day a slice. I will get you on Slice.
I know the guy at Glide a little bit, Rob. I'll send this to him or stop by next time I'm there and tell him he should contact you.
I love it. You know, the one in Decatur is attached to a brewery, so it's a really good
That's what I hear.
Friday afternoon or Friday after work spot to go. And and I've got a toddler, and it's all people like my age that bring their toddlers. So it's just a
Even
bunch
better.
of kids, bunch of dads that look like me, drinking beers and eating pizza. It's such a good time.
My final question for you: who is somebody who inspires you, either personally, professionally, or both?
Let's see. I'll say I mentioned his name earlier. I'll say Rory Sutherland. I just like the way that he takes something that is like right in front of our face and reframes it in a way that makes it something completely different. He's got a book, I think it's called Alchemy. If you're a marketer, I absolutely recommend reading it because it's like literally what I'm going through right now at Slice. It's this idea of like how you describe something, how you think about something literally changes it from lead to gold. And that's what like I've told my team, I only care about working on things that can 10x the business. And one of the things, in my opinion, that 10x's Slice is how we explain ourselves, especially to shops and less so to consumers. Because once they understand what we do in a sentence or less, I think this platform sells itself. But right now we are not explaining it that way. So I really love this idea that like words matter, how you think about something matters, how you describe something, and how you make it stick in someone's head.
HubSpot for pizza was
HubSpot
perfect
for pizza.
for me. I don't know if you can use that in your actual marketing, but
No, I can't because shops don't know what HubSpot is. I talk to this like 60-year-old blue collar shop owner and he has no idea. Now that's more of a New York thing. In other cities, some of the shops, especially the newer ones, are a little more tech savvy. So I'll have that in my back pocket, at least if they're young.
Fair. No, this was awesome. Thank you so much for joining. What do you want everybody to do? You want pizza shops who are not currently on Slice to reach out, and you want folks like me to download Slice and order through Slice.
Yes,
correct?
I
Awesome.
will. If you're listening to this and you're on Twitter, find me on Twitter. I'm M Kobach. Download the app. I will send you a code for free pizza. I promise. Just DM me. And if you are a store, I'll tell you what, I'll pay $1,000 to get onto Slice. Again, just DM me. If you're any pizza shop in the United States, $1,000 just to get onto Slice.
No clue if we have the authority to do that here, but you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah,
so
I have the authority to do it.
That's what I'm
Whatever.
saying.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Sweet. Well, I appreciate you joining. This was awesome. Thank you so much. And everybody go download Slice.
Yeah, please.
Thank you for checking out this episode of You Should Talk To. This show is brought to you by the company with the same name, You Should Talk To, a company that helps marketing leaders find the right agency or freelancer for their situation. If you enjoyed what you learned in this episode, make sure to follow You Should Talk To wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or visit YouShouldTalkTo.com for more information.